Hello and welcome back to yet another Geek Show where you won't like me when I'm hungry. I'm your host, Alex Ecker.
I'm your host, Dalton Lee.
And I'm your host, Jacob, and today we're discussing The Incredible Hulk, a 2008 American superhero film that Marvel likes to forget that it even exists.
All right. Jacob, you literally forgot. I was like, the next in line is The Incredible Hulk. And you're like, shit, that's a movie?
Yeah, honestly, because not only did they change the lead actor out of nowhere, I even forgot there was a post-credit scene until I watched it. I watched it again, and I get to the end, and I was like, I don't remember this. So where did this come from? That's honestly.
So it's weird because, like, technically this movie is still canon.
Yeah.
And technically they've acknowledged it more than you would think, but rarely in important ways. They'll do things like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. will name drop the villain in this movie to remind you that he's still alive. And then, like, General Ross gets brought back as a character eventually, but, like, not with any meaningful relevance to this film. And, like, his daughter, who, like, how do you just disappear that character? Like, she seems...
Yeah.
How do you just ghost the girlfriend character?
He met Black Widow.
Right.
And that... I get
for,
it.
like...
She had to. I get that she had to compete with Scarlett Johansson.
That's tough. That is tough.
It's not fair.
Yeah. I'm just waiting to find out
Poorly
that,
Tyler.
like, this was, like, Mark Ruffalo secretly, but, like, it was, like, a Fight Club situation.
The entire time, it's just this dream form.
Now, to be fair,
Although there was a big dick at the end of this one.
We'll see when we get to the Avengers that, like, the Avengers kind of acknowledges this movie, and then that's basically it in terms of meaningful ways. Another one is that, like, that drink from the bottle factory. I think that shows up as, like, an advertisement poster in the background of another movie. Maybe it was like Ant-Man and the Wasp, like something recently. Just the tiniest things, but the biggest disconnect really is kind of not paying off. Spoiler discussion here. Why in the world would someone be listening to this and be concerned about Incredible Hulk spoilers? I don't know, but just in case,
Acknowledgement.
These are always full spoiler discussions. It's the problem is really, like, not paying off the leader tease. The movie doesn't call him that. So I guess to clarify what I'm talking about, I mean the scientist who begins to mutate and then they cut away.
Yeah.
A really major Hulk villain, never acknowledging the girlfriend's existence again. But perhaps most importantly, never doing another Hulk movie and, like, really meaningfully diving into his issues. Like, they say they're giving him story arcs through the team up movies. And it's like, yeah, kind of, you can write down a character arc, but, like, you didn't dive into it because he's never the lead.
Right.
That's true. Like, all his stories aren't even, like, really B stories in the other movies. They're very much C stories, where it's just the point that he even develops a romantic. We're just jumping ahead, but the fact that he even develops, like, romantic feelings for Black Widow, like, it's just kind of it's like in the middle of a movie, like, hey, we're a thing, and I was like, hey, I'm happy for him. I think anybody would.
You were trying really hard just then not to say that he developed feelings for Scarlett Johansson, and I understand completely because I struggle with this every day.
You get through your day, you just breathe, and you're like, all right, just don't look at ScarJo. She's happy. You just gotta breathe.
Next thing you know, you see a red car, and you're like, that's more of a scarlet color, and you're like, damn it.
But more pressing, actually, my big opinion of this movie is that only for the parts I like about it are the fact that it doesn't feel like a superhero movie really until the end. It's got very much a Jason Bourne kind of thriller on the run vibe the entire movie.
I think, and this might be blasphemous, and I'm not saying they're on a similar level of quality, but I think this deserves a lot of the credit that The Dark Knight gets. And to a similar extent, maybe Iron Man does too. These are all in the same year, and Iron Man is a more straightforward superhero movie. It's also a movie that if you didn't call him Iron Man and you didn't know that it was based on a Marvel comic, you might just call it a sci-fi movie or an action movie and not a superhero movie. But what I'm saying is it's not half as campy as Spider-Man, X-Men, Fantastic Four leading up to it.
Yeah.
It takes the character very seriously while respecting the source material at the same time. And this movie, yeah, again, you're right. This feels nothing like a superhero movie.
And they treat the Hulk almost like how like they do with horror movies with monsters. He rarely shows up until like big events happen. And you get a lot of development of Bruce Banner, his relationships, to where it does feel like a very lonely kind of adventure movie, where if you take the Hulk out of it and have this man running from the government, it's a spy thriller kind of feel. And I liked all the scenes where he was like he was on the run. I think was it Brazil? I can't remember exactly where he was, but but like the movie pulled you in, and I think a lot of the credence to that to the score. I thought the score was fantastic for this movie.
Yeah, there was a good few harkening back moments with like the original, like the Hulk with Lou Ferrigno.
Yeah,
they had that piece of music in there. They had Lou Ferrigno in there too, but specifically speaking about the music.
Yeah,
I met Lou Ferrigno once.
Oh yeah, at a con.
He's a big dude.
I can imagine.
Yeah. His biceps were about the size of my face. Like he's a big fucking dude.
He is the Hulk.
Really nice though. Yeah.
That said, as cool as it is that he cameoed in movies for a while and even kind of contributed in weird things, like I think he occasionally still did voices for certain scenes of the Hulk in the MCU movies.
Really?
As cool as all of that is, I think he's made comments recently that he hates that the Hulk is a CG character now and that it's for like somehow not the right way to do him. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's a ridiculous hot take to take just because you still want to be the Hulk. That's silly. I respect what you did, but like, come on, man, get real.
Although I could see if they ever continued the Hulk story, if Mark Ruffalo doesn't look like an older version of Mark Ruffalo, they could probably use Lou Ferrigno and kind of get away with it.
If he ever Professor Hulks himself or something, yeah.
I can see that working out pretty well.
Yeah, interesting. Now, the choice to not follow up on this movie, some people have said, well, it didn't make any money, and that's true, and maybe that's an influence behind the decision, but that's not really it. The issue is that Disney and Marvel, there's rumors this might have changed recently, but Disney and Marvel don't own the rights to distribute Hulk movies.
Who owns it now?
Back during this era, before Disney bought them out, Marvel produced the movies but did not distribute them. Universal distributed this particular movie, and they, unless it's changed recently, own the rights to distribute, which means basically Marvel's allowed to make a Hulk movie if they want, but they're going to share a huge cut of it.
Gotcha.
With another company. Because now they do, obviously, with Disney, distribute their own movies.
Yeah.
You don't want to make movies for other people to distribute when you're fully capable of distributing on your own. So it never really made sense, especially since it didn't really make money. Like, you don't make The Incredible Hulk 2 when even like Ant-Man 2 is going to make more money.
No, because I think James Gunn actually expressed doing a sequel, but they came into conflict because Universal has a lot of the rights. And I think Disney's actually trying to get around that because you have that She-Hulk series coming out, which obviously Mark Ruffalo can be a part of because it's not specifically him. Like you could have him be a major role in that as his character, and they can distribute it, but it's like, it's not a Hulk show, it's a She-Hulk show, and like that's the defining difference there.
Isn't it insane, though, that works legally? Like, I'm glad it does, but that's insane. If I were the lawyers, I'm calling bullshit.
Like, someone has to be, like, right there being like, what do you mean there's another Hulk? They're like, sir, we don't know. They got to go with us. We never thought we need a She-Hulk show or anything like that. So they were just like, they told us they weren't doing anything with her. Now, I mean, it is,
do we know
it
who's
is nice
playing
to see. like the one movie he did get, despite it not being Mark Ruffalo, like it was a good movie. It's just, it was the weirdest thing. Cause I can't get the fact out of my head that it's like Mark Ruffalo is Bruce Banner. And watching Edward Norton in it, it just feels like Edward Norton reading lines. Nothing against him. I think he's a great actor.
No.
Yeah, I think
Edward Norton does great in this movie. And honestly, my hot take is that I wish Edward Norton would have kept going, and I think he would have been better in the long run. Okay. But it is a big issue for me that I can't connect the two as being the same character.
Yeah, it does seem like really disconnected. And even with the fact that, when they announced the Avengers
Even
cast,
with the Avengers acknowledging events of the Incredible Hulk, I still can't connect and mentally make them the same person in my mind.
Yeah.
Because they do feel like two completely different characters when you like see them act like opposite of each other just in the movies.
Yeah.
And then you have like blunders like Mark Ruffalo being announced as Edward Norton at the Avengers panel when the movie got announced and people being very confused. But yeah, like it's because both are solid actors, but I do see what you mean because Edward Norton, it did seem like he put 100% into being like, I'm going to take this. Like it was a very much Christian Bale Batman thing. Like you made a point, like I'm going to take this character super seriously and do the best I can.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he reminds me a bit more of comic book Banner, which is, I'm not going to be real big on comic book adaptations need to precisely adapt the comic books. Yeah. Usually I think that's not the case. But, Mark Ruffalo has still been usually great. I almost said he's been great. We'll get to movies where I'm like, I was not happy with what he did here.
If we're talking actors, is it okay if we move on from Edward Norton and Mark Ruffalo?
Sure.
Yeah, cool. I did not like Liv Tyler in this movie.
Which is maybe why she doesn't get used again?
Actually, yeah, because she was just... It was one of those things where I felt like an actor was just there being themselves and not really getting invested. Yeah. Like, I think her character was better done in Ang Lee's Hulk movie, which is that's a hell of a thing to say.
Yeah, because her character was just, stop, no. Oh my God, you're alive?
You're alive? Why can't we have sex? Oh, you'll turn into the Hulk? Oh no. Like, she was very...
I didn't think of that on my own.
And like, it's like, oh no, I couldn't have possibly put it together. And Edward Norton's like, give me something to act off of, please.
Right.
Like, please, good.
Wow, this is the same thing we said about Robert Downey in the last one.
Oh my God, we praised the actor.
I was thinking
and then the female lead we gave shit. Because even the villain, I thought Tim Roth was friggin' great. Tim Roth was good.
I love Tim Roth, or as I call him, Timmy Roth. I don't know why. I don't think he's ever been credited that way, but to me, he's Timmy Roth, and I love him.
Timmy Roth.
And he's actually great here.
Timmy Roth is.
Because like you actually get his drive, like what he's trying to do. And I think one of the best fight scenes is when he's dosed with the super soldier serum, like a nice nod to Captain America. And he's just doing flips around the Hulk, and you're just like, holy crap. And then him just getting ragdolled against that tree was one of the like unintentionally funniest moments. But like, what are you gonna do?
Well, and the CG, like, not that it's great through any of this movie. It was pretty low budget. And it was 2008, but like,
and it was
the CG of that moment of him ragdolling into the tree is worse than the rest of the movie, and I lose my shit, and it's hilarious. But like, but no, I do love the character, and I buy him. And I mentioned Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. like acknowledged at some point, season 1 or 2, maybe that character is still alive. I don't even think that's the only time it's been mentioned. I really hope they figure out making another Hulk movie and bringing back that character, because I don't know if the Abomination ever becomes not the Abomination. I don't remember that from the comics.
He's just stuck like
so
that.
Hopefully he becomes Timmy Roth again.
I'm going to derail this real fast, but I wish I would have said this. In the Dragon Quest spotlight, when the dad's like defeated and almost dying, and he's like, Luca, listen to me, and then he just gets set on fire and he just starts screaming. It's those kinds of moments with like the CGI kick that just crack me the fuck up.
But Jesus. Anyway, but yeah, I want that character to come back, and I want them to pay off teasing the leader, because that poor actor, think about this.
Oh yeah.
Tim Blake Nelson, he's in this movie. He does great.
Yeah.
And he would have done great if that villain became a villain. This dude goes on to play the Mole Man in Fantastic.
Oh no.
And to be honest, I don't remember him in that movie.
I don't remember him in that movie either.
I'm actually second guessing whether I watched it or not.
Oh my god.
We can do the non-canon MCU movie spotlights at some point. That'll hurt.
Oh, we absolutely will. Starting with Ang Lee's Hulk. And but like this poor dude, like he did great. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, all right, Marvel just forgot about me, I guess. Let's go try Fox Marvel. And nope, this was a mistake.
Like, it'd be really cool if, like, in the She-Hulk series, like, they actually address this. Like, they'd have him come back, or, like, he's been operating, like, doing some shadow work for S.H.I.E.L.D. if you want to really integrate it. Because, like, the only actor to come out of this movie with a job was William Hurt as Thunderbolt Ross.
Yeah.
And I remember that was kind of a nice payoff, because I really liked this movie, and when he shows up later, I was like, is that goddamn Thunderbolt Ross? And he says it, and I'm like, holy shit, he's back. I was like, he's back, he's ready. And then him and Mark Ruffalo,
and he's still here, and he's still relevant. I think he's even in Black Widow, and he's, you know, rumored for all kinds of upcoming stuff. And yeah, he still matters, but his daughter just miraculously disappeared from this universe.
Yeah,
maybe she's gonna be She-Hulk.
Yes. Yeah. Oh God, please no.
But so I'm harping on this thing about this, you know, dropping the character, not because it's a good character. I haven't even said her name because I forgot. Betty Ross. It's on IMDb. It's not even that she's a great character, and it's not even that Liv Tyler did anything special with her, and maybe she couldn't have. Sometimes I want to give the benefit of a doubt and say the script didn't give her anything.
That's true.
But it's just that it feels like it's an egregious enough thing, like forgetting that the character exists, that it feels like a plot hole. It feels like a continuity error to just never reference it again while Bruce is having new romantic interests and while Thunderbolt is still a character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Was I even think the actor, the William Hurt, even like when he came back, like he considered it like just a different version of the character, or almost like how like there's tons of different comic book, like a multiverse of stuff, which would be interesting if they went off that. But at the same time, you're just like it's like that weird pick and choose. Like, we're going to acknowledge it exists with what we want to see, but then we want also Bruce Banner to have this new relationship, so we can't talk about the main point of the movie that had the Hulk in it. Like, it's so strange. Like, the whole point is how he misses her. He wants to get back to her. It's this really decent love story.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh wait, no, ScarJo? Oh yeah. Betty Ross. Like, what?
And the whole audience is like, I get it, bro.
Yeah. We're all like, no, I mean, yeah, we feel bad for Liv, but you know, we get it. Like, it makes sense.
I wouldn't be surprised if William Hurt pulled a ScarJo and he was like, I was in the Incredible Hulk.
Like, what? I was in it? And what's weird is, like, you're right, they do acknowledge a lot of the things from that movie, like, and we'll get to that with the Avengers, but Mark Ruffalo's version of Bruce Banner explains that he can control the Hulk in a sense that he's always angry. And you see that as like that sting at the end of the Hulk where he like meditating, opens his eyes, and has this look of like, I'm controlling it. And it was like, that was such a cool thing to end on, because you're like, oh shit, we're gonna see him be more like, cool. And they do pay that off a little bit, but then without the Hulk having movies to really build off that, every time he just shows up and then something goes wrong, you're like, well, why is it going wrong? And like, I feel like you could have had a great movie where you have the duality of the Hulk and Banner having a problem, if it's not sidelined by you having the biggest team up movie ever.
Right. Yeah, I feel like his character changes and progresses from movie to movie, but the change happens off screen.
Yeah, it's all stuff you learn from him just being like, hi, Tony, these things have happened. And it's always to Tony.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Tony was in his movie.
So like Thor finding him off Earth and us learning that like he can't turn back into Banner. Mm-hmm. Like, that's just kind of a thing that's said to us, right? Like, we just see that it happened. We know it did, but like, we didn't get that movie.
No, like it'd have been.
We didn't get that movie where we see it becoming that way and him struggling with that. We just see that, oh well, that's the way it is. Like, I guess.
It would have been great to have like a Planet Hulk-esque movie where like you see the Hulk genuinely confused that he's not turning back into Banner.
Yeah.
And there's that adds to the intelligence of like the Hulk isn't just this mindless killing machine. Because he isn't. Like, the more he's progressed in comics, you have this moment of him, like, looking around, super confused, trying to go back to being Bruce. Because even the Hulk's like, I'm not supposed to be out this long. Like, what's going on? And you have a whole planet who's, like, embracing him as the Hulk, and he's like, no. It's like, I'm trying to be Bruce. And it's like, it'd be such a reverse Hulk, because like Bruce never wants to turn into Hulk, and you have Hulk being like, no, I'm good, and Bruce is like, we're done. I'm staying inside. You take the reins.
Hulk, read.
Yeah. And like, they've done so much with the character in movies where like he doesn't talk a lot. You just have a strong cast to be with him, and you got a good fucking movie with the Hulk being like, I love how this is turning into not just us talking about the Incredible Hulk, but like, goddamn, they had so many missed opportunities with this character.
Yeah, they absolutely did. Well, I mean, that's part of it, though. Like,
you mentioned Planet Hulk. You mentioned Planet Hulk. So, like, if we're assuming that it doesn't happen, that Disney gains the rights and ability to make a Hulk movie, then, like, okay, cool. They squeezed it into Ragnarok, and that's really the best they could do. If it turns out they do gain that ability, we're like, well, shit, you just wasted Planet Hulk then.
Yeah, now it's like it's like now it's like too late for it, because you're gonna send him into space again, and he's gonna be like, not again. Like, where's Thor when you need him? And it's like, as much as
he's making another movie. Stop.
Yeah, leave him alone. He's busy doing that, and like that's why I'm hoping the She-Hulk series has like gives him time to develop, kind of like how like a lot like in I'll give Disney Plus like the benefit of the doubt with The Mandalorian. Like, you have like this interesting you can watch a character develop. Like, you have like, it's not just one movie, it's several episodes, and you can have Bruce actually have even if it's just one friggin' scene of him being like, you don't understand, like, this is a like you can like, it's a curse or it's a burden or it's something you have to deal with, because essentially he is Professor Hulk now, and like that's gonna be something he may
and we don't
with.
see it happen. We just see that it is.
We cut to him being okay with it, and I'm like, in my head, him and the Hulk being separate was such a key character moment, and the fact that he just tells Ant-Man and Captain America, he's like, yeah, I just decided to combine them. What happened that made you go, I'm gonna try a risky ass experiment that already put me in this situation? I'm derailing this. We gotta go back to the movie.
Okay, this wasn't supposed to be the bitch about Endgame podcast.
Oh, I'm so sorry. We had a whole thing.
Okay, back to this one. How did we get there? About whether characters continued or not, and all the stuff they didn't pay off. Okay, so let's try to isolate this to just this movie itself, I guess. We talked about actors. We talked. Oh, how about them making the decision to kind of skip over the origin story?
That was nice, actually,
and summarize it. Yeah, with kind of a retelling of Ang Lee's, but like, even though that's not canon, they're like, close enough.
Yeah, it's kind of like, if you have a base idea of how that movie went, we kind of took from that. And it was good because it is essentially an origin story, but they kind of relegate it to the first literal opening credits. And then you have like a really great character study because there's a lot of great moments in this. Even though like not all the actors we felt like should fit in there, there's still great moments, like when he's trying to be cured of what he considers disease. My favorite moment in the movie is when he falls out of the helicopter. That's like that little bit of like, it's meant to be this heroic moment. And I had an actual thing where I like kind of got up out of my chair when I first saw it, where he's like falling and just has this moment of, oh shit, I'm gonna die. And it was great because I remember being like, credits. It's just like, that's it. That's the credits.
Even knowing full well that obviously he survives that and is in a million more movies, watching this the other night, my wife doesn't remember this movie at all, and he jumps out of the plane and he hits the ground, and she actually went, oh shit.
Oh my god. Because like, with foreknowledge, you know he has to be alive, so you're kind of going, what happened? And like, actually coming back to that, I'm just remembering, there is a deleted scene with how this movie was supposed to start, or he's in the Arctic and he tries to kill himself. And like, it has this, he starts like an avalanche, and then they reference that in a later movie, and it's like, it's so weird because like, you have a lot of creative,
in the Avengers,
a lot of good creative tissue in this movie. where the more I'm thinking about it, I am changing my opinion that Edward Norton did kill it. But, man. Because they had I remember people were picking apart this movie oh, in the thunderstorm, you can see Thor fall. Oh man, there's Captain America's shield somewhere. I remember this movie set off that, oh, it's a connected universe. So we need to look through this entire thing and find any hint that we can.
It was so fun at the time. I'm glad I was there. Only as of Captain America, but I'm glad I was there before the Avengers, and I got to enjoy all of that speculating, and some of it's paid off and some of it hasn't, and that Thor thing wasn't really there, but Thor was coming.
And it was just it was that need to be is Hulk shouting at Thor and scaring him away? Find out in this 30-minute YouTube video. And it was still I watched 40 of those.
Today that's not fun to do anymore.
No, it's not.
I don't know why. I'm thrilled with how much MCU content there is, don't get me wrong, and I'd watch something new every week if they could make it that fast, but
I think
it's not fun anymore to sit on YouTube and pick out the Easter eggs and make predictions. And
with the
now I'm just bring me some good movies, Marvel.
Because with the Incredible Hulk, it was more it was that, because we knew with the stinger at the end of Iron Man there was going to be more, but then you had that first bit where you're oh god, they're trying to make this connected universe, and you had the Easter eggs at the time were very subtle and they weren't in your face. Because now it's they have to tease something up front and they throw it right at you so you catch it.
It's this super soldier serum in this movie.
Yeah, it was that little thing where you're
it's so cool.
It was oh, we used it back in the day. And they didn't immediately say it and you're fucking Captain America. And you're it's that moment of it's a small nod. They don't throw it right in your face and smack you. And then when you see him running around, if you hadn't made the connection already, you're oh my God, he's a super soldier. This is amazing. And then you get that tease of what Captain America could do if he gets a movie.
Yeah.
And it was so good because it's just little things like that. And you just, no movie.
And today we know that the MCU can go anywhere and it's hard to be surprising anymore. At the time, there were limits.
Yeah.
The MCU starts out we started with Iron Man, which, like I said, you could, if you ripped out the comic book relation, people wouldn't call it a superhero movie. They'd just call it action or sci-fi. It starts out pretty mild and then amplifies its way up to Guardians of the Galaxy and eventually Endgame. And now they can do anything now. But yeah, that wasn't the case back here. We had no idea where anything was going. I think Iron Man 2 might have a tease of Wakanda in there that doesn't pay off for years and years and years.
Yeah, they talk about getting vibranium. Yeah, and it's a small throwaway line.
Well, but there's also I think it's Iron Man 2. There's a map, and I don't remember what it's for. Maybe it's sightings of superhero related activity.
Yeah, Nick Fury has a map labeling people, and Stephen Strange is even on it too, and that wouldn't pay off for years.
Oh, wow. They name drop him in Winter Soldier, and it's not for years that they pay that off. But this scene I'm thinking about, I think it was a map of superhero-ish activity, and there was a dot in the middle of Africa, and you're oh, that's Wakanda. And there's one in the ocean, and that still hasn't paid off because you're that's Namor.
Yeah, it's Namor, Submariner. Where is he at? I think that actually may have been Winter Soldier, because you find out Hydra's tracking a lot of stuff. I think that may be that movie.
Yeah.
But regardless, the Easter eggs were subtle, and things were a really cool build-up to where when you finally got that big team-up movie, it was such an epic thing because it had not been done. It was such a cool, and the Incredible Hulk really played into that. And it's so sad that it's just kind of really shoved to the side. And it just, I think it's because of Edward Norton.
It was part of that build-up, and it's just gone. Yeah. There's been other recastings, but this is the only big one.
Yeah. And power to Mark Ruffalo. I think he did his own thing with the character, and I do like him as an actor. But it's interesting to think of where it could have gone if Ed Norton had stayed into it, and maybe they would have kept it as a flagship character. Here's another movie, or maybe they would have found a way if they it had been profitable and the actor had been staying with it. Universal would have done maybe a Sony bid where it's we'll put him out and it's part of your universe or whatever. Oh man, it's just sad to see.
And I mean, I'm not even necessarily saying that Edward Norton was better. I mean, we all know Edward Norton's top tier anyway, one of the best gets Marvel could ever aim for.
Waifu tier list, he's right at S.
But it's But it's like it's the version of the character too. I don't think Edward Norton would have sold the character that Mark Ruffalo is playing. I think the character gets written differently too.
The more goofy Bruce Banner that we get in the later movies fits the universe that becomes increasingly weird instead of the very real, dark, grounded one that we got in the Incredible Hulk.
They want him to be able to like trade jabs with Tony.
Yeah.
And I don't want that. I want my Banner a little moodier.
Yeah, they want him to be able to pass out tacos later on.
Right. Oh, okay. We barely mentioned the music.
The chase scenes where like Yeah. It was the music whenever he's running in Brazil. Is it Brazil or is it Sao Paulo? Am I thinking the right place? I'm so bad.
I don't remember.
No, I don't remember because like the music when he finds out they're after him and he flees, like it's such a simple tune, but I remember it just builds and builds with him consistently trying to get away, and then it takes that. It's like whenever it's Bruce, it's that very light. I'm running. I got to escape. And then the minute he gets in that factory and becomes the Hulk, it turns into like a small horror movie because he just massacres the men.
Yeah.
And
it is horror.
And it was great because you only see his eyes, and at the time, like the CG, you were like, "That's amazing." And now it's like a little like, okay, it's dated. But you had that bit where he comes out of the shadows, runs up, and you're seeing it through night vision, and he just destroys this team that's meant to be able to take him down. It's just fantastic because I love them coming back out to Ross being like, "The hell was that?" You said we were chasing a puny scientist.
Yeah.
What was that green thing?
Yeah, I mean the monster approach is super cool, and like it's also kind of the obvious way to go because Hulk is kind of the superhero who is quite literally not a superhero. He's just not. So how else do you approach his movie but to go, well, this is a monster movie, I guess. And nowadays people like to talk about like the idea of a superhero horror movie like with New Mutants coming out, and people thought for a while there that Doctor Strange 2 might really lean into horror, and it still really might with Sam Raimi being rumored to take it over.
Yeah, the Multiverse of Madness, I think is what it's called too, which that you could do horror good with.
But but there's some precedent for horror scenes back here. You're never gonna get like a straight up
like Marvel horror movie where like you're like jumping and scared the entire time, but like with the Hulk you threw in some scenes where it was like genuinely good.
Yeah,
right. You can get some strong horror influences in there. I'm not sold on the possibility of a real horror I just can't imagine what it looks like, what it feels like, how it works narratively.
Because you've got to like scar your
how to make a movie. Yeah, how to make a movie that legitimately feels like it goes 100% into both instead of 80% into one and 20% into the other. I can't envision it, but maybe that's just me. I assume Hollywood writers and directors out there are a little bit more creative. So that said, the music to me it's really effective, and I've said before that that's the key thing for me. It's not that the music is memorable, it's that it's suiting and adding to the tone of what I'm seeing on screen, and it nails all that. If I had to nitpick it, I would say it gets a little too samey. There's kind of, here's the melancholy music and here's the action music, and you're getting one song or the other the whole way through. And it's a great 2 songs, but it is the same vibe over and over again. Wow. I feel like for a movie that we all went into this saying it's pretty low tier for Marvel, I feel like we've almost exclusively praised it though. So what's wrong with it besides Liv Tyler's character?
I think it's just, honestly, I think it's weird in retrospect, like going back, seeing how it sets up a lot and then the movie becomes not a payoff because watching it, they're not going to address a lot of the plot points they set up. And I think that's the problem because I remember being, whenever like Marvel like kind of even came out, like we're ignoring that movie. I remember being, why would I rewatch it? Because if it's going to be connected to a larger universe and they're barely recognizing it exists except for like some character beats, some that we all don't even see on screen.
Right. They overpromise and underdeliver.
Yeah. So you watch a movie that had a plan, assuming it was getting a sequel or at least feeding into something else. And then you get characters you're never going to see again. And I think that's the part where, like, and even now going back to watch it, when you see every character's almost in every other movie, at least in a small capacity. Now it's like, oh, okay, I think you can skip this movie. And you're not gonna miss anything in their overall vision. And I think that's affected it with time. But then when you look back at it, it stands on its own if like it was just its own movie that never got a sequel. It's a complete Hulk story that is really great. It ends on a great note.
Sure. There was a time period, maybe like 2015, where I was trying to get my mother to watch these movies, and my mom basically won't watch anything that's not rooted in reality. If there's any anything like sci-fi, superhero, horror, anything unreal, anything supernatural, she's just 100% not interested. And she like didn't get why I was taking these movies so seriously. And I'm like, no, like these are actually good movies, though. It's not me and other nerdy kids. It's everybody. Everybody loves these movies. The critics love these movies. My friends love these movies. Their moms love these movies. It's everyone. And so I'm like, I was trying to get her to watch them, and I let her skip this one. I let her skip this one because I was like, you at least need to make it to the Avengers, and this one's gonna slow you down and not not help you get there.
Because that definitely affects it, because with time, if you want someone to get invested in the movies, like they do see this giant backlog of years and years and years, and if you can like look at them and be like, oh, you can skip this one, 9 times out of 10 they go, I can? Okay, great. Because that's the first thing I get asked when I try to like, start someone on Marvel. I'm like, they're like, which ones can I skip? And I'm like, that's really hard to say, because a lot of them eventually do really feed in, because if you skip like some of the origin movies, you get confused later, and if you skip a big team up movie, you're like, well, who the fuck are these people?
Yeah.
So like, it weirdly is the key movie to skip, which is the sad part.
I think it would be the only one that I would say go ahead and skip, because because technically you can point to like any 2 movies and you could say like, well, technically you don't need to see Thor: The Dark World to understand Black Panther. Yeah. Right? You can pick 2 movies. You don't need to see Thor: The Dark World to understand Black Panther. Sure. You do need to see Thor: The Dark World to watch Age of Ultron, which you need to watch Civil War, which you need to watch Black Panther.
Which then feeds into even like Endgame, where you have to realize why they're going to Asgard to get this thing. You're like, oh god.
Yeah.
It's like even if it's like a small
because the Dark World.
Beat, and like I've watched a movie where like if I miss a part or I'm really confused at a reference, it does take me out for a minute, because I'm like, well, I don't know what the hell's happening here. Why are we spending time at this planet? So you're just like, it's hard. You really can only skip one movie, and this is it, and that's sad. Like that sounded real sad out of me. I'm like, ooh.
Yeah. So that said, like that's some of it. There's just a lack of excitement going back to it because nothing was built off of it. Mm-hmm. Although it feels a little unfair to punish its judgment based on what came after and not based on what it pulled off on its own. And yet I still feel like when I look at it on its own, even though we just praised it for so long, something is still missing.
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to say, despite all my praises, it's boring.
Yeah, because like like if you're into the Hulk, like there's bits that you can really pick up on, but someone just jumping into this movie, you're going to be like, why do I need to care? And that may be a product of how it was made and when it was made, because if you're not familiar with the Hulk, like we all are, that couple-minute origin story, you're going, what the hell's this? Like, it's just like, why was we seeing this first-person thing that I don't understand?
Right,
and, like,
exactly.
It does, like, the movie heavily assumes you know what the Hulk is, who these characters are, and why you should care. And if you jump into it blind, it is very much it's a dude who turns into the Jolly Green Giant. Like that's what you're watching, and like it's just it's hard to like invest, because it does take a lot of assuming.
It doesn't quite convince you to care.
Yeah, like it's like, oh,
and so
you know why you should already.
So I guess maybe it's the writing, because I feel like most of the actors did great. I like the general direction they went with the chase sequences and the horror monster approach, and I really like the music, and I think for the really low budget, I think the movie looks good. Sometimes the CG's weak, but the direction around the CG is fine. It's still used well. And so at the end of the day, why am I watching this and going meh? And it's just boring. It's the writing. Yeah. So again, we're not going to do numbered ratings on this show, but we are going to rank things within a franchise. So I think it's safe to assume we all place this underneath Iron Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Fair enough. Thanks for listening, everyone. And if you listened this far, you probably liked it. So share our stuff on Twitter and whatever the kids are using, because
else
we've been neglecting to encourage people to share this at all for the last year that we've been doing the show.
If you enjoy Spotlights and have any suggestions, leave any comments on our Twitter, Instagram, even on pages. We're always we all watch movies and play games. It's not just the MCU. So if there's anything you'd love to hear an opinion on, or even just a hot take, let us know.
Do it. Otherwise, you won't like us when we're hungry.
I'll go this far because I've been meaning to say it for months and months and months, and I keep just forgetting. If people share this on Twitter and name drop a movie, not a game, because games can be long and that's a huge commitment. But if you name drop a movie, every week I will watch one movie that was name dropped on Twitter, and we'll discuss that on the show.
And then Dalton will nag us until we also watch the movie, and then we will make an episode about
it. Yeah. So, again, thanks for listening, everyone. And we'll see you next time on our, I guess, Iron Man 2 Spotlight.
Here we go.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.